Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been great working with TxAHEA. I really appreciate all the experience that I've been given, and I'm so grateful to be able to be presenting this webinar today. So my name is Amanda Harrison. I am the Academic Assessment Coordinator at Palo Alto College. I've been in this role since November 2019, and I am a part of the Teaching and Learning Center there. As Jennifer mentioned, Dr. Jennifer Lares will be joining us later. She's one of our adjunct business faculty, and she'll probably give a little introduction when she joins us. She's teaching right now. I wanted to start off by giving some Palo Alto College, some PAC facts. We are a 2-year community college in San Antonio, Texas, and we were founded in 1985. We're located on the south side of Bexar County, which is statistically the area of lowest educational attainment. And we're one of 5 individually accredited colleges of the Alamo Colleges District. We have 4 sister colleges: San Antonio College, Northwest Vista, Northeast Lakeview College, and then St. Philip's College. We serve approximately 10,700 students, with 77% of those students being part-time and 79% Hispanic. We are a Hispanic serving institution, and we offer Associate of Arts degrees, Associate of Science, Associate of Arts in Teaching, Associates of Applied Sciences, and Level 1 and 2 certificates. We have 2 academic divisions, Arts and Science Division and the Professional and Technical Education Division. All of that gives us 102 full-time faculty and with 216 part-time adjunct faculty. The purpose of our webinar today is to discuss our transition to a digital teamwork survey and the pedagogical effects that ensued about authentic teamwork in an online environment. So our outcomes today are to describe the process for implementing a digital survey campus-wide, and discuss the use of a digital survey how the use of a digital survey impacts assessment of teamwork in an online environment, and to collaborate with pedagogical examples of facilitating teamwork in an online environment. And as Jennifer stated earlier, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I do check the chat from time to time, but I know that Jennifer will be helping me moderate it too. So first, a brief history about our teamwork assessment at PAC. Teamwork is one of our 6 institutional learning outcomes. We call them ILOs. The ILOs are the TxAHEA core objectives. And they're assessed on a rotating schedule every 3 years. We try and assess 2 per year. And we do this by having faculty embed a key assignment into their regular course curriculum. A key assignment is an assignment that is regularly embedded into their curriculum that prompts students to demonstrate their proficiency in the ILOs. For teamwork, it's unique because the student contributions to the group are assessed by their instructor, themselves, and their teammates. So we're getting data from 3 different sources to see how a student contributed to their team project. Our teamwork rubric starts with our learning outcome. Palo Alto College students consider different points of view and work effectively with each other to support a shared purpose or goal. And we also, on our rubric, define what a teamwork activity is, which for us, we've defined a teamwork activity as an activity that involves 2 or more students working together to collaborate and complete a common task. Our rubric has 3 criteria with 4 performance levels. And those 3 criteria, it starts with the student making a quality contribution to the team activity. Now, our performance levels go into more detail, but we generally describe a quality contribution as completing tasks by a deadline, helping your other team members, positive aspects such as those. Then our second criteria is that the student treats fellow team members courteously with respect. And our last criteria is that the student models personal attributes that contribute to teamwork. Some of those personal attributes are attending meetings on time, being prepared for the meetings, and being prepared ahead of time with the material for the meetings. Our old teamwork survey was paper and pencil. There's an example of it on the right-hand side here. It's still focused around the rubric language. As you can see, our criterion 1 is listed at the top here, and it has the performance level language so students can read that and through before they answer and give themselves a score, as well as their team members. This survey was typically given during class time. It depended on the faculty member, but during class time, that was always a good chance to ensure that you received those surveys back for analysis. And faculty would collect the student responses and submit the responses from the student and their team members, as well as their own evaluation of student contributions. And again, all paper and pencil. So our struggles with the old teamwork survey. The first struggle just has to do with it being a physical piece of paper. There's numerous documents to organize and sort through. The surveys were filled out during class, and it was noted that some students might have been hesitant to share their authentic opinions while sitting next to their team members, maybe a little bit hesitant to write down what really happened when their peers sitting next to them, if there was an issue. For the assessment piece, we had pairs of raters reviewing the surveys from the students, the peers, and the faculty, and they had to read through all the evaluations to compile one score for that student in each criteria. So it was time consuming. And then lastly, we had an extremely high percentage of students earning a rating of highly proficient for themselves and their peers. Now, it would be great for all students to feel like they are highly proficient in these criteria, but it made us question if students were answering these surveys honestly and giving feedback that was relevant and true to their experience. So before we move on to our new survey, I used to be a math teacher. So one of my favorite things to look at is charts. And this is one of my favorite chart experiences that was created by someone who clearly didn't have a great experience in teamwork, because what are group projects supposed to teach you? Communication, responsibility, collaboration, working with other people. What group projects taught us? A little bit of communication, responsibility, collaboration, teamwork, and then trust no one. So now we don't want our students to go into this trust no one realm, obviously, but we want to move away from this mindset that teamwork becomes this challenge, this struggle to work with other people and towards this common goal. And we were hoping that through this teamwork survey, we would also have more pedagogical conversations about the actual key assignments. So on to the new digital teamwork survey. And I'll place it in the chat in just a moment so you guys can play around with it if you'd like. We created the survey in SurveyMonkey, and I'll put the link to the demo in there in just a moment. Students are prompted to select their names and their team members' names, and the rubric language is still a huge component of this. Now, I have to give thanks to my colleague at UTSA who gave us this idea about moving to a digital survey and sharing his success on their campus about the moving from paper to pencil to digital. And that really inspired us to try it ourselves. So let me quickly put the link in the chat. And this is a true demo link to our teamwork survey. So if you actually go through it and respond, it's not going to mess up any of my data. It's a different survey, and it's completely created for this presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And this is what our teamwork survey looks like, how it's set up. So first, it starts with some quick instructions for the students. Please be honest in your evaluation. It will take about 5 minutes to complete. So I'm going to pretend that I'm student A, and I'm going to select my name from this list. And then the directions are to click on all your other team members. And I have to do this step when I'm demoing it, or I won't be able to go on to the next page. So I'm going to say that student C and student D are my partners for this activity. And we put in red, do not select your own name. Of course, it still happens. There's human error, but it has not happened as often as you would think in my piloting of the survey. So I'm going to hit next. And when I hit next, it's taken me to the first criteria. The student makes quality contributions to the team activity. So again, we remind the students to be honest in their ratings, but then we also put in a note that said this is not a comparative process. All group members could have the same rating, or each one could be different. So we don't want students to think that they're ranking their team members. They're just simply rating based on the rubric language. So we have our rubric posted here for this particular criteria, just like it was on the paper and pencil survey. And then it says rate yourself and your team members on the quality contribution to the team. Now, what I like about SurveyMonkey is that it can carry forward responses. So the responses from the first page are all carried forward right here. So normally you would see your own name and then your team members' names, and I would be able to respond and give them a rating. Once I give them a rating, I have to provide a brief explanation of our ratings. Before, this was on our survey, but it was not, I mean, it was required depending on if the faculty member wanted it to be required. It gave us insight, but it seemed like it was more of an optional part of the survey because it was such a small box for students to fill in their responses. So we ended up getting very few responses, or very short and brief responses. This allows them to write a lot in this small box. And what I also like is I had to figure this out the hard way with my first pilot. If I put good here, and then if I left the other two blank, when I first piloted it, they could get away with that without responding to all the students. But then I figured out how to set it up in SurveyMonkey that if I hit next, I'm going to be brought back to this page, and I made a note, please write a brief comment about all team members. Use language from the rubric to help you if you get stuck on what to write. So while I hope that no one just writes good in all three categories, that's what I'm going to put for all three people today. And when I hit next, I'm taken to the next part of the survey, which is criterion 2. Fellow team members are treated courteously with respect. And so the survey continues as such with all three criterion. And then after you get done with the last criteria about your personal attributes to teamwork, you're done with the survey, and students hit submit and their responses are recorded. It's also nice because if a student gets stuck with their technology portion, it still actually records most of the survey for me. So I'm going to switch over, but before I do so, were there any questions about the digital survey before I switch back to the PowerPoint? Okay, feel free to continue playing around in there. I'm going to switch back over. So our pilot, what was our process like? We piloted the survey with faculty volunteers since spring 2020. In spring 2020, there were 3 faculty members with 7 class sections and 151 students. And then in fall 2020, we had 7 faculty members, 15 class sections, and 337 students. So we almost doubled that amount. I saw a couple questions coming through in the chat. What do you do for large classes in terms of entering each of their names per course into the survey? That's a great question. SurveyMonkey actually allows bulk answers to be put in for the different questions. And so I was able to, faculty members sent me a spreadsheet with their student names. So I can copy and paste those into the bulk answers part, and it puts them all as an answer choice. So it does help. And also, I think what helps as well is that we're a community college. So most of our class sizes are probably around the 30 to 40 range. So I haven't run into an experience where there's too many names yet. And then how long does it typically take students to familiarize themselves with the elements of the rubric? Oh, and that's a great point. I forgot to mention that. In spring 2020, I included some questions at the end of the survey about ease of use for our first pilot group. And all of the students said that they found the survey was easy to use. I know that some faculty members take a moment to coach the students through the survey as well. And I think that's where I found more success. If during class and talking about the teamwork assignment, the faculty member pulls up the survey and just kind of walks the student through an example. That seemed to give us the most success in students using the survey. But in general, we haven't run into too many issues with the technology aspect. So thank you for those questions. Those are great. Instructors typically added a link to the survey as a final component to their teamwork key assignment. Some of them made it an additional assignment, so students would have to mark that they were done after they completed the survey. Others just put it in the assignment instructions. It varied based on instructor preference. And I tried to keep in really good communication with our faculty members that were piloting it. They would tell me when the survey should be closed, and I would typically send results 2 to 3 days after the survey is closed. They would also give me information throughout the semester if they needed the survey by a specific date, or if they wanted to check in to see if students were completing the survey. So it just was constant communication, which created a really open line of communication between the faculty members and myself about teamwork, which was exactly what we wanted. So our preliminary results, and these are very preliminary because we've only had those 2 pilot sections. The spring 2020 pilot, these are the results of students who met the standard versus did not meet the standard in each criteria. And we define meeting the standard as receiving a performance level of 3 or higher. So that would be a 3 or 4, and not meeting the standard would be a performance level of a 2 or 1. Now, I wasn't able to go in depth in all of these analyses yet, but I wanted to just share that what our preliminary results looked like. It was also great in spring 2020. We had a 92% submission rate of the survey. And so I felt like that was a really positive response to the survey because, you know, digital surveys are hard to get back sometimes. And then what we saw in the fall was even more promising. Here are fall results right now. We're starting to see that more authentic response to the teamwork rubric versus just, yeah, everybody did great. We all worked happily together. We started to see more authentic responses from students too. And in fall, we had an 88% submission rate. So the submission rate dropped slightly, but we had double the classes and double the students. And some of the faculty members who were piloting the survey did not require students to complete it as a part of their grade. They were just piloting it to test it out. So that could have contributed as well to the 88% submission rate. But all in all, we felt these results were very promising. And then couple that with our next part, which is really beyond the data. What are the effects that we're seeing of this new teamwork survey? First, I wanted to start with the effect of students. It's been really neat to be able to say the very least, to be able to compile these results because I do see some of the student responses and they're really thinking deeply about what it means to be a good team member and more importantly, what it means to them. And they're using the language of the rubric. So here's a student, anonymous student example from Quality Contributions. I've been working triple shifts for the past few weeks. I've barely been going to the meetings, but I've still been keeping contact with them and giving them the materials that they need. So even though they're not being able to attend the meetings, this person still gave themselves a good rating because they knew they were contributing to the team and their team members felt the same. I thought this was very eye-opening for me because I felt that the students were really thinking about what respect meant to them in a team situation. I feel like no response to communication is disrespectful, as well as trying to post after the final post. I love that response because I started to see a shift in student thinking from just saying, oh, they were really friendly, they were really polite to me. We kind of hope that things like that are happening naturally. I mean, of course, if they're not, they need to be reported. But I like that the shift to being respectful and disrespectful is about teamwork aspects. And then personal attributes. Took an active leader role and set up Zoom meetings, kept communications through email. So again, we're seeing what students are seeing about what they feel teamwork means to them and what it means to create a successful team. And we're seeing communication, we're seeing respect, we're seeing giving the materials to that project. And it's great to see from this point of view and have students write it in their own words. And then we had some faculty feedback. One faculty member said, the entire process of incorporating a teamwork assignment and survey into my online course really forced me to reconsider my assignment design. The survey is easy to use for students, and the summarized survey results allows faculty to grade more quickly and efficiently than the paper version. And lastly, instead of weeding through a mound of paperwork, I was able to translate the student scores quickly and easily into points within the course. When assessment is made easier on students, it's one more barrier removed from their goal of teamwork. Now I'll pause here for a moment because I did see some chat messages coming through. Yes, okay, so first I wanted to say that Qualtrics, yes, I know that Qualtrics allows the bulk upload too. We looked into Qualtrics, but we already had a SurveyMonkey account and we found that SurveyMonkey did have the carry forward response as well. It's a little different than the Qualtrics one, so I had to play around with it. I don't know much about Class Climate, but I think a lot of survey platforms are starting to move forward to having a feature like this. And then when is the survey made available? I make the survey available when the faculty member talks to me about it and tells me they want it made available for the assignment. So most faculty members do share the survey with students before the assignment is given, or if not, if they don't share the survey, they definitely share the rubric with students before the assignment is given. And the survey just models the rubric language. So it is more in the faculty control, but typically it's given when the key assignment is assigned. Okay, I think I caught up. And last but not least, the best part of this is the pedagogical effects. So first, just a quick note, we were going to assess teamwork in fall of 2020. Due to our remote environment, the decision was made to push our assessment of teamwork back to fall of 2021, which honestly gave us time to have great discussions. And we were able to have convocation sessions over teamwork. We were able to have them over the teamwork survey. We were able to bring faculty in to discuss their teamwork assignments with each other and collaborate. And it's given us the time to have these rich conversations about how we make our teamwork assignments. What are we making clear to the students? And more importantly, how are we coaching them on what it means to be a good team member? The rubric helps with that, but we have to talk about the rubric in order for students to understand what are some aspects of teamwork that I should be looking for in a good teammate. It's not just someone that's friendly and happy all the time. It's someone that puts in the work and does what they're supposed to do on time. And on top of that, if they're friendly and happy, that's bonus. But it's not the one thing that we're looking for. So it's given us some great and rich discussions. So what's next? We have more faculty piloting the survey in spring 2021. Dr. Jennifer Lares is going to pilot it with her Flex 2 class. I'm really excited to see that, those results and how it works in her classroom. We also are planning for a larger scale use of the survey in fall 2021 when we assess teamwork formally as an institution. One thing that really excites me about using the survey is that typically our sample for our assessment process is drawn from students that have 45 or more credit semester hours. So we're looking at more of your sophomores in our community college and beyond that. But this survey gives us a chance. It's not just targeting just our sample size. Yes, our assessment process and our analysis will focus on our sample, but it gives us the opportunity to maybe have some longitudinal results and look at students coming in as freshmen and seeing if they stay with us all the way through the end of their sophomore year, and maybe we can see some growth or improvement. I don't know, it's exciting because there are possibilities here with this survey. Some areas of improvement that we've discovered. One, I am not an Excel guru yet. I'm going to put the word yet in there because I do want to continue improving. So my way of cleaning the survey data is a little bit tedious, and I know that there's a faster way out there. So that's one area of improvement that I'm working on right now, is honing in my data analysis skills through Excel or through another program to try and clean up the survey data easier. So I'll be able to do it faster for faculty members when we have a lot more faculty members involved in the assessment. And then also streamlining the communication. If I've learned anything from spring of 2020, there are a lot of small moving parts that I didn't think of initially, like closing the survey and communicating with the faculty member of when the survey should be closed, making sure that faculty know how to include the survey in their Canvas course, because we ran into a couple snags with that too. So there's a lot of things moving forward that I know that I can improve on in communication with faculty members. Now I see the chat coming up. Okay, first question. Were there certain guidelines for how long the team had to work together before the survey was used, or the amount of meetings? Not yet. For our key assignments, we give our faculty members choose something that's already included in their course. So we don't have any guidelines for how long the team needs to work together. But we do have a faculty member that's been piloting the survey this semester that has teams throughout the semester already chosen, and they stay with that team for the entire spring. So we're testing some data with her right now. So more results to be coming there. Let's see, if someone's working as similar and own Qualtrics. Oh, thank you. There's a Qualtrics rep here. And then how do we share the results? That's where I'm still working on. Right now, these results are just the student responses. I'm going to be working over the spring semester and the summer moving forward to determine how we get the faculty response as well. So right now, this is just the students' ratings themselves and the team ratings. So that's a work in progress. And then another good question, how is the aggregated data from the surveys utilized to develop improvement strategies? We have a couple different things going on campus. We have an assessment committee that will look at the data as well as campus-wide, we look at it. We have been running some key assignment design workshops that are aimed at improving our strategies that look at they use a TILT framework, and faculty can bring in their key assignment and get feedback from folks from our teaching and learning center, as well as other faculty, on how to continue aligning their assignment with that rubric. Yes, I see a question about sharing with the PDF or Word document. I will be doing that for sure. Thank you, I can do that. And I love that last comment. Thank you for that about TikTok Excel. I have been actually really enjoying TikTok as a learning tool, so I will have to check her out. Now, I know what's coming up next. I just need to check real quick. Awesome, okay. Dr. Lares is here. So I just wanted to quickly introduce her. Dr. Jennifer Lares is one of our fabulous business adjuncts. Jennifer, did you want to start your video? There you are. Okay, I couldn't see you. Awesome. So she is one of our fabulous business adjuncts. She's a part of the professional and technical education division, and I will let her take it away.
All right, well, good morning, Amanda. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be with you all. For advancing the slides, Amanda, do I just let you know? I'm sorry.
You can let me know. I'll try and guess, but you can always tell me if I'm going too slow or too fast.
Okay. And just to give you a little bit of background, so I've been an adjunct faculty member for about 1.5 years with Palo Alto College. My disciplines are business and office management. The courses I typically teach range from a mini session to an 8-week session. So when I describe the way that I'm utilizing teamwork in my online classes, just to give you a little bit of background, I've applied it, the assignment we're going to look at as an example, in my hybrid classes prior to COVID when we were meeting face-to-face as well as virtually. I've also utilized it within the online class successfully, even if we did not have live meetings. And we'll talk about that. The population within my classes are typically a lot of different variety because my course is kind of an intro to business course, a bit of an appetizer sampler, if you will. I end up with students who are fresh out of high school. I end up with returning students who've been out of the loop for a minute due to career demands or parenting. And then I have some that are literally finishing up and on their way to bigger and better things academically or throughout their career. So we have a nice, rich melting pot, not unlike you find in the workplace, right? So when I looked at incorporating group work and kind of why, because it does add a little added layer sometimes of complexity within your courses and grading and so on. But obviously, first and foremost, it supports the institutional learning outcome, not just of teamwork, but of communication. And I feel like it helps mimic what students can expect in the real world. And that was really kind of the point that drove the idea into why it needed to be embedded in my course. Because oftentimes, I know when I was working on my master's classes and so on, we were put into groups, put into teams to accomplish a goal, work on a project. When you go out into your workplace, regardless of industry, you have cross-functional teams, you have opportunities where people are lumped together to get something done. And so I wanted them to have an opportunity in a safer environment to exercise that, especially because I had that rich diversity within my students. And you create a bit of learner-to-learner interaction because they're engaging with each other, which is ideal. And in an online environment, sometimes we are so separate and disconnected, especially when we're not doing any type of live sessions. So having that opportunity to create a catalyst for interaction I feel is very important, maybe even more so now if you all think about it, because sometimes our students, I know we're returning to a bit of normalcy, but when you apply this in a real, current present time, this is an outlet for that some that otherwise don't have interactions and social interaction. So you're creating that opportunity. And then again, we want them to feel like they're going to be best prepared for what lies next in their journey. And we as instructors have these awesome tools courtesy of technology, right? We have Canvas groups. Here at Palo Alto College, we utilize Canvas as our learning management system. I do have a little experience now with Blackboard because I'm utilizing that for another institution. I'm not as familiar with their capabilities, admittedly, but I have found that the group function within Canvas is very easy to navigate, not just from the instructor vantage point, but for the students. The tutorials to help them are great. And it gives you a bird's eye view, but also allows them to have their own space to collaborate. The Canvas app can be used on their phone, so if they need to message and respond to each other, they can do that, as well as just engage with the classroom. And then through our school, we offer Office 365. I'm sure it's to all students, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but students typically have access to Office 365, right? So they've got 5 devices they can put this on. It allows for real-time work and editing, whether it be a PowerPoint or a document, they can all get in there. And then finally, Zoom. So what's nice about this is, yes, these tools are great for the instructor, but these are tools we're using in a lot of businesses right now. You're working from home, we're using meetings, we're using Zoom. These are very applicable options that the student can use for the completion of this work, that it's kind of preparing them where they may see this again later. And I like that idea of, you don't have to be a master in Office 365. I'd like you to at least get a look in there. So if it pops up later, it's not a surprise for you in life, right? And it's a wonderful resource. So we have these tools, the students have these tools, and what they do is allow us to provide, the guidance in their use, as well as just the oversight we as instructors need to kind of see how things are going. So I teach, and I apply this final project in my Introduction to Business course or Business Principles course. And I give them the opportunity to create a mock company, and they incorporate all the things that we've learned about throughout the course. They're going to learn about how they're going to market their company, the customer segment that they target. I like this opportunity for them to be creative in it. And I introduce this final project early in the course. So within an 8-week course, they're made aware of this project, just that it's there in week 1, that they are going to have a group assignment in week 1. I like to just put that out there so they're not feeling apprehensive or anxious about it. It's a bit of a spoiler alert. I come right out of the gate in the beginning and just say, this is what's going to come up. I do that because they're maybe not used to it. And I want them to just feel prepared. And I go over a list of, they have a checklist that will guide them in their project. I look at how many students are in the class, and typically we'll break them into groups of 3. I also like to look at who my students are when I'm grouping them. So I try to use a little bit of strategic thought. And what I mean is I look at their meet and greets, and I see who is a student that is on their way out of the program into a bachelor's, or this is not their first semester. I look at the student who says, I'm fresh out of high school, this is my first semester. And what I try to do is put kind of a nice little mixture within those 3 people that utilize the strengths and weaknesses that I'm able to see kind of in a very general, broad sense, so they can complement each other, but at the same time be a little bit different, because I want them to have a little bit of different personalities in there from what I can gauge. They also have an opportunity to request teammates if they are in a class and they recognize a teammate. Now, prior to this exciting survey that I'm super stoked to use in this class, thank you already, Amanda, I was going old school pen and paper, and I was utilizing a peer evaluation form that I had used as a student in my education, tailored to this course. And it was a requirement that each team member submitted that peer evaluation in addition to getting their final project. And that did play into me being able to complete the grading process. What I'm going to be doing in the future with the digital version is they will send me screenshots showing me they've completed it, and they will have an opportunity within Canvas to put that in there. So that's what's going to happen with that. But so that's just a little bit of background about the particular final project. So I'm clear in letting them know it's coming. And I like to give them the information about the assignment in advance because I want them to be thinking as we're going through each week and covering each topic, how is this going to apply to our project? I don't assign groups in week 1 because I want to allow time for any drops and withdrawals by census date. So I do wait. And I also have by the week 2, I've seen some interaction in my discussion boards, the meeting group, you know what I mean? So I'm starting to kind of see how they communicate with each other. And I'm in communication with them about, okay, you know, I'm going to be creating your groups on this day. They get announcements. I also set up some expectations for them in terms of you're in a group. So by this day, I'm going to want you all to share your communication, your methods of contact with each other, either within your Canvas group, or I set it up in such a way that I kind of guide them through it to kind of getting set up and make sure they understand where and how to use the different resources, whether it's as simple as PowerPoint, how to set up their Zoom accounts or student Zoom accounts, where to find the Canvas group tutorials. I put a lot of this stuff into announcements, as well as if we do have live sessions, I'll talk about it. And I like to encourage them to use the Canvas group feature because what it does is it kind of documents their interactions in a way that kind of shows evidence of this person's not been showing up or responding, blah, blah, blah. I can go in there and see that. They can share and collaborate on their documents and different things in there. So I will demo that or make a video sometimes and show them how to use it. They can create their own discussion threads. It's like their baby version of Canvas if you all haven't seen it yet. And I think we're going to actually glance at it in a moment. But I really encourage them to utilize that. And if they need some live Zoom sessions and office hours, then I'm available for that as well. So there's a lot of support and reassurance right at the front end of, okay, you know, I'm going to help you with this, and this is kind of what's going to happen, and then monitoring it throughout. This is a screenshot of Canvas groups. If you've not seen this, it's pretty awesome. I go in and specifically assign the students. I don't do it randomly. Every once in a while, I may have someone come in that has their own business that really would be better suited to work on this project alone because they really want to tailor it to their specific business that they currently have. I'm somewhat flexible. If it's just a situation where, well, I don't like to do group work, well, I'm sorry, this is the real world. And sometimes we do the things that we have to do that we're not excited about, but it's going to be great and we're just going to power through. So I try to be flexible within reason, but at the same time, there's value in the discomfort sometimes, if that makes sense. And I know I don't want to sound like a terrible barbaric teacher, but I want to release you into the wild, ready for what you're about to encounter, right? That's kind of a bit of my job, I like to think. So I'm going to gently nudge you from this nest, but you're going to have to be a little bit uncomfortable for a second. So I put them in groups here, and you get to choose how, even if it's a student by themselves, sometimes you can put group Matt or group Jill for yourself, but you can determine, and you can also change these around as you need to. So if a student does drop later or something and you need to kind of switch gears, or you have the ability as the instructor to do that. And then this is what I was talking about when it allows you to kind of go in and just see how things are going. You can actually see their topics in here where they start discussion board threads. They can do announcements here and do it for each other. This is their group that you're looking at. So it mimics like a little baby Canvas classroom, right? Like if one of them, let's say, is going to be unavailable or going out of town, they can create a little announcement for their group members. They can download files. Hey, check this out, you guys, whatever. There's a collaboration section. So this is really nice to give them a semblance of control within Canvas, where they feel like they have their own little private workspace. If you were in a room and you said, okay, this is your corner to work on your business, we're giving that to them in a technological sense. And just to add to that, I just saw this, I can also see and sense struggles. So this also lets me see some struggles if I need to hop in and be like, hey, because sometimes you can say 100 times, let me know if you need this or help if you need help. But sometimes you can also smell, a looming disaster, and you can hop in there and kind of spearhead it if you need to too. And you can also make sure they're being respectful of each other. Or if something dramatic comes up, which you may get that too, then you're able to kind of go in there and see what's really going on. Now, I am, again, a relatively new instructor. I have about a year and a half. This will be coming up on 2 years this year. So I'm still a baby in the world of pedagogy. But this is kind of some of the things I've learned so far, right? Through my trial and error. So first, set a deadline for them to reach out to each other and set up initial contact. And I like to remind them that just because we can be reached immediately through technology doesn't mean that you should expect a response right away, right? We're all kind of trained, like, you know, Pavlov's dog. When we see a notification on our phone, we're going to like zip over and see what's going on or check an email, you know, like the end of the world if we don't do it right now. But it's not reality. We all have work and other demands in our time. So I like to get them set up for initial communication with each other and expectation, you know, hey, I work from 9 to 12. If you guys message me, I'll have this window of time where I may not get back to you, that sort of thing. Set up some expectations. And then I get very specific of what information they need to give each other, just so there's no confusion, how they prefer to be reached, hours, and so like email, cell phone, whatever. You're going to have some that want to work alone, and you're going to need to manage and, you know, use your judgment on that situation as to what, you know, because again, you want them to have this experience. There's value in it. So if you have opportunities for them to do that, then you want to take advantage of that. If you have some that maybe having some anxiety or issues that they get with you privately about, that they have need accommodations or something, obviously you're going to take these things in consideration, but just kind of be ready to handle those questions. And then being accessible to support it. You can't just be like, hey, here you go, this is due in week 8, you know, I'll catch you later. You've got to be ready to check in, how things are going, point things out as you're going. Hey, this is something you'll want to apply to your mock business, or this is something you're going to need to think about for that project you're working on, and incorporate this team project into what you're doing throughout the course, right? So it's not just kind of this lumped thing that isn't really seen again for 8 weeks. And then make sure that you have some way of assessing the teamwork contributions through the peer evaluation, or in this case, the wonderful digital survey. They've got to be able to assess themselves and then each other. And then just making sure that they understand why they're doing it. Like, why are we having to do this project like this? So making sure they get the applicability, the reason. And I know why is sometimes a question we get anyway, and I actually have that incorporated into my overviews for every module. Why do I need to know this? And how am I going to learn this? So yes, so making sure that they understand why they're taking on such a challenge. And this is not the first time you will be in this position. I'm pretty sure you will see this again in your future.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Amanda, I think, yes?
Yes, thank you so much. I love everything you said, and I can't wait to, I think it kind of goes back to what someone said in the chat, or a question we got. Since you have them in teams and they're prepared throughout the entire semester, I can't wait to see how that impacts the survey results as well. So thank you so much. We're so lucky to have you at PAC.
Oh, thank you.
So just to wrap up, because I know we're close to the end of time here and we want to make sure we have time for questions. Our purpose today was to discuss our transition to the digital survey and the effects that ensued in terms of pedagogy. Our outcomes were to describe the process for implementing the digital survey, discuss how the survey impacted the assessment of teamwork in an online environment, and to collaborate with pedagogical examples of facilitating teamwork in an online environment. I saw one question come through the chat that I hadn't answered, and I need to reread it. But this is our time. Whoops, my computer went the wrong way. This is our time for questions. So please write any questions you have in the chat and we will answer them with the time we have left in this session. Let me go get that question I missed. The key assignments are specific to the course, or are they signature assignments used across all teamwork courses? That's a great question. The key assignments are specific to the course. However, there are some departments or disciplines that have created a key assignment that all faculty collaborated on, and they use that in their course as well. So it's kind of up to a faculty and a department decision as well. And I think there was a follow-up to that. And I need water. Are the improvement strategies course or instructor specific? The improvement strategies are aimed to try and be pretty general so that they could be applied in any course. We try not to get too instructor specific. That's more of a departmental discussion, but that's kind of our goal, is to share departmental results, and then the department kind of picks apart what they think is most important in those departmental results and create an action plan.